So let's start. Hello everyone. So I hope you all are enjoying and having a great time in the online classes. If not, don't worry. You don't have to, because we have brought this orientation program for you. The long wait is so over. On behalf of the Programming Society, we welcome you to our orientation program. I am Harshit Singh.
And I'm Suman Patnaik.
So most of you might have heard about PSoC, and people who yet don't know what PSoC is might be wondering, what is this PSoC and what we do?
Okay, so first of all, since we are full, people who aren't able to join, please inform your friends that we are also live on YouTube. Link is in the chat box, so you can watch that. Okay, so let's begin. Who are we? PSoC, as the name suggests, is the official programming society of IIIT Bhubaneswar. We are a clan of passionate, hardworking, and enthusiastic students who are interested in developing and maintaining software, experimenting with different technologies, working and learning in teams, practicing peer to peer learning, and otherwise gaming.
Really, Simran, you have defined us in a very clear way. Now, many of you might be wondering, what do we do in PSoC? So we introduce you to different technologies, like we will help you to get acquainted with the new things that are happening in the tech world. We introduce you to the best practices related to software development and maintaining it. We will help you to understand and embrace the programming culture, help you to find your area of interest and improve your skills in that particular domain. And at the end, we will help you to connect with alumni and expand your network. But how do we do all these things? Obviously, through sessions and events. So here are some sessions that we have conducted last year. Hacktoberfest, where one can start their open source journey and win goodies. Linux Fest, where we teach you about the Linux kernel. Also, we have a winter of code and days of productivity, which you will get to know in future. Now, I would like to present some exciting events that we conduct by connecting with other communities and people and collaborating with them. And Linux 101, Career in Open Source, Cybersecurity Workshop, and a lot more. And the one which I enjoyed the most is Cybersecurity Workshop by Mahesh Rakheja, sir.
Okay. So now comes the important question. Why do we do it? Well, we do it because we get paid. Nah, just kidding. We do it because we love to. We have people who are doing really great in the fields they're working in and are also willing to help others achieve the same and more. We love to communicate, collaborate, innovate, and make things happen. This is how we work as a community, and this is why we do it.
So next is, what do we dabble in? So a lot. We have people who are acing in their respective domains and are ready to help others who wish the same. Now, I will welcome these connoisseurs and let them introduce their respective domains.
Hello everyone, I am Siddharth and with my friend Avash, let's dive into the web dev world. Since the 1990s, few things have remained timeless societal staples like the Friends, Pokemon, Britney Spears, and the internet. So the internet is not a new thing to any of you, and web developers are on the line of these innovations and improvements. So, what is web development actually?
The word web development is made up of two words, that is, web, which refers to the website, pages, or anything that works over the internet, and development, which means building the application from scratch. Web development refers to the building, creating, and maintaining of websites. It includes aspects such as designing, publishing, programming, and management. It is the creation of application that works over the internet. Whether you are binge watching your favorite shows on Netflix or you are viewing your 12th board results on CBSE website, all this is made possible by web developers. So now, one important question is, why should I get into web development?
Because if you know web development, you can go a step further from just signing the petitions, like making a website to support Donald Trump for the next presidential run. Just kidding, nobody does that. But it's true that web development gives you the opportunity to express yourself creatively on the internet. According to Stack Overflow Developer Survey, among the top 10 popular technologies, 8 were related to the web. So it is the hot cake in the market. Secondly, it is one of the most well paid jobs in the market. You can make a lot by advancing in this field. Often, a few hours of work are rewarded with a high pay, which makes it extremely worthwhile. The average developer salary is 75 grands.
As a web developer, you have the opportunity to work for startups, agencies, large corporations, or even freelance. It is also been speculated that by the end of 2024, there will be almost 75.5 billion connected devices. So it is a growing field. If you have an idea you would like to try as you discover your skills, try it out. Web web dev is a fun, creative experience.
Now, ours, since we have counted so much pros, can we tell them how they can get into web development?
Well, it's a vast field, but don't worry, it is really simple to start. All you need to do is get an editor and a browser. That's it. Everything else can be learned along the way. There are tons of options and customizations that you can pick according to your needs. And don't worry, if you are ever stuck, we are always here to help. At PSoC, we have a community of web developers who are always willing to help you by clearing your doubts, providing you roadmaps, or just interacting with you. Now, Siddharth, the one important question is what can I do after I become a web developer?
Let's start with an example. All of you here must be knowing about Mark Zuckerberg. He wrote the software for Facebook or FaceMash, the then website, when he was in his second year of college. And now Facebook's net worth stand at a whopping $958 billion, and Mark Zuckerberg's net worth is $97 billion. As you can see from the picture, most of the tech leaders, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Larry Page, who are billionaires too, owe a large part of their fortune to the internet. There are countless such examples of web developers who make their fortune by building mind boggling websites. You can never know, you can be the next one.
So, now let us move on to some examples to see what you can do as a web developer. So, first of all, to have the user's attention and reach a wider audience, you need an appealing design. And as a front end web developer, you can easily achieve that. Here's example. On the left, we have the Amazon web page without any styling or without any design. And on the right, we have the actual page. I think we all know which one we would all prefer for our day to day use.
One thing we all have experienced during the result day is anxiety due to the broken CBSE website. However, do you know that Netflix serves millions of users daily and is still functional? The thing that separates these two apps is a good backend. As a backend developer, you can code these apps when they are functional and when they need to be.
Any application that can be written in JavaScript will always be written in JavaScript. Jeff Atwood said this in 2007, and today in 2021, it has become a reality. Whether it is making games, animating models, or doing machine learning on the browser, becoming a web developer opens up a plethora of opportunities where the only limit is your creativity. The internet is here to stay. It is getting better and better every day. So, see you on this side soon. So, now let us move on to the world of app development.
Okay, let's begin with some statistics to keep in mind. What's everyone doing on their phones? Well, 88% of mobile time is spent on various apps. To be precise, mobile apps are expected to generate over $935 billion in revenue by 2023. The Apple App Store has 1.96 million apps available for download, and there are nearly 2.87 million apps available for download on the Google Play Store. These are some very large numbers, isn't it? Moving on, as you can see from the graph, there was nearly 55% jump between 2016 and 2020. The growth rate isn't quite as sharp, but it's still on the rise. Also, worldwide, there are more downloads coming from the Google Play Store. But as you can see, both stores saw an increase in the percentage of downloads from 2019 to 2020. The Google Play Store downloads grew by 31%, while the Apple App Store had just a 2.5% growth rate. I am sure that these statistics are motivating enough for anyone who plans to build or develop a mobile app.
I think there's some network issue, so maybe we can move forward.
So let's call upon the AI and ML team to share some of the insights to the world of AI and machine learning.
Hey everyone, I'm Abhishek and I'm going to introduce you to the AI/ML team along with Ajay. Artificial intelligence, I guess, is not a new term for everyone. We come across this term AI in many Hollywood movies and novels. Between Hollywood and a dusty stack of sci-fi, it's all around us. The AI of today can do specific tasks like driving a car, booking meetings, picking your Netflix binge, and more. Let's talk about some of the cool things that have been created with machine learning. Machine learning can be applied to any scenario in which a substantial amount of data is present. This means almost anywhere. Self-driving automobiles, for instance, collect data about their surroundings using cameras and other sensors. It's even employed to produce songs and even symphonies. You may listen to a longer version of Never Gonna Give You Up thanks to AI. You can monkey playing Pong entirely with its mind, thanks to a chip called Neuralink, which is machine learning to predict the primate's next move. Deep learning was the core technology that Google's DeepMind used in their AlphaGo AI machine. That machine beat a world champion human, Lee Sedol, at an extraordinarily complex game, Go. What's so extraordinary about Go? The number of possible positions on the board is a number greater than the number of atoms in the universe. You've probably heard of deepfakes. Deep learning is used to create images of fake events, hence the name deepfake. Here's a sample video that you might like.
बापू सेहत के लिए तू तो हानिकारक है बापू सेहत के लिए तू तो हानिकारक है हम पे थोड़ी दया तो करो हम नन्हा बालक है हम पे थोड़ी दया तो करो हम नन्हा बालक है डिसिप्लिन इतना डिसिप्लिन इतना खुदकुशी के लायक है बापू सेहत के लिए तू तो हानिकारक है
I hope you enjoyed seeing how machine learning is employed in today's world. Now, Ajay is going to tell you more about ML.
Hello everyone. Now you may have a question. What's really ML? Well, before going to that, let me ask you a question. Do you ever wonder, are computers able to see, listen and learn? Well, of course, computers these days can see, listen and learn. This is artificial intelligence and this is the future. If you watch Marvel movies, you may be aware of AI assistants like Jarvis and Friday, right? While watching those movies at least once, you might have a thought of making such cool AI assistant and using them. Well, those assistants are not only up to the movies, they can be possible in real life by using AI and ML. Now, let me brief you what is machine learning. Here is a Venn diagram for the terms machine learning and deep learning. Actually, deep learning is a subset of machine learning, and machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence. Now, let us know what is machine learning. Yeah. Machine learning is a branch of artificial intelligence and which focuses on the uses of data and algorithms to imitate the way that humans learn and gradually improving its accuracy. And what's really deep learning is? Well, here we use neural networks which attempt to mimic the behavior of the human brain to learn from the large amounts of data. Now, you may have a question, from where should you begin your journey in ML and AI? Well, we here at PSoC will help you on your journey of exploring a lot of interesting subdomains and exciting technologies in this field of ML and AI by holding talks, events, tutorial, hackathons, and lots more. We in machine learning and AI use a myriad of awesome open source tools and services made by the most amazing companies in the world, such as Google's TensorFlow and Facebook's PyTorch. We also use Python libraries such as NumPy, Pandas, and Matplotlib, etc. And from time to time, we host a variety of educational events and workshops. Last year, in collaboration with Microsoft Learn, we conducted an introduction to AI, ML, and data science series called Road to AI. Learning, where we discuss the common concerns students have when pursuing this field. We will be conducting such awesome events for you as well as in the future. This concludes the ML team's input. We hope you enjoyed it. Raj and Simran are now going to introduce you to the cloud team. Thank you.
So, hey everyone, I'm Raj Aryan,
And Bhaiya.
and
And
we'll be
I'm
exploring the
Simran.
cloud together. So, cloud computing, what is it?
Well, there's a clear, simple definition for it. It is a way of using IT that has almost equally important traits, like you get computing resources on demand and self service. That is, all you have to do is use a simple interface and you get the processing power, storage, and network you need with no need for human intervention.
Broad network access. You get to access these resources over the net from anywhere you want.
And the resources are elastic. If you need more resources, you get more rapidly, and if you need less, you can scale back. Moreover, the cloud makes all this computational power highly affordable with pay-as-you-go economics. Now, cloud as a service.
Wait, what? Cloud as a service?
Yes, enormous computational power is now available at the fingertips of even the smallest of the businesses and individual developers, thanks to cloud. If you look at some of the key emerging technologies of today, such as the AI, the IoT, blockchain, and analytics, all of these technologies work with massive amounts of data and need huge storage space and computational power in order to work, making cloud only the viable platform for these technologies.
Okay, so why should I know about cloud?
Dude, you are already using cloud without even knowing it. Netflix, YouTube, Instagram, etc. They're using cloud in one way or the other. Even Google Cloud is the platform, is a tool that powers apps like Google Search, Google Drive, Gmail, etc. It is even used in gaming, VR, that is virtual reality, AI, ML, and cloud storage devices, and whatnot.
Great. Now that I have an idea of what cloud is, I wonder how should I get started with it?
Well, no worries. There are no prerequisites required for beginning in cloud. You can get involved with the society, and as we have lots of enthusiastic people who would love to help you explore and grow.
Thanks, I'll definitely check it out. So now we have Piyush Mishra and Saurabh Pati for the Linux and open source part. So
Yeah, thanks, Raj, for the introduction. So, I'm sure that everyone would have heard the term proprietary or licensed software. So, these are the softwares that require a license or a paid subscription for their usage. But there's another field of open source software. It's called open source software. Okay. So, what exactly is open source? So, I'd like to ask Saurabh this question. So, Saurabh, can you share with everyone what does open source mean and why are you so interested in it?
Yeah, sure, Piyush. I really want to share again with everyone about this amazing concept of open source, or I should say, the amazing world of open source, right? Starting from the mere definition of open source, it stands for being transparent, sharing, and contributing to your desired projects, which you are interested in to improve them or modify them for your own. Yeah. Before going to perks of open source, let me tell you a thing about it. Open source is all about collaborating with all and not about competing. It may be different programs for students which are organized globally, like Google Summer of Code, Google Season of Docs, Outreach, MLH Fellowship, or Season of KD, or any other program. They all provide an environment for collaboration and not competition. This is a great advantage And this advantage of open source makes it what it actually is, so different and so interesting for all from any field, may it be web, may it be app or ML. Okay, keeping this point in mind, let me convince you all by giving some more reasons for the question, why open source? Being open source means the whole code is accessible to all to suggest and modify. It doesn't mean, by the way, it doesn't mean what we say in Hindi, goods of government, but yeah, it has its own licenses. Okay. From being transparent and flexible, open source projects provide security too, as there are a lot of people. Just imagine the whole public is inspecting every piece of code frequently. So there is, of course, less chance of any loophole or bugs in the code. Being cost efficient at one side and attracting talent, the very important thing it provides is a community. There are very huge communities dedicated to each open source project, and that is one of the best reasons we developers or programmers here are so much interested to be a part of our community. Believe me when I say that being a part of a community is great, because it is. Apart from that, we have freedom to modify it, use it, and distribute it. When I talk about freedom, I remember an amazing fact about open source. You can write anything, any piece of code or information in your open source repository or a project, and there is literally no one in the world, no government, which can ban you for that. Isn't that what we call freedom for the whole world? Exactly. Open source provides everyone that kind of freedom. So, Piyush, I think they will gradually come to know, and it will be clear gradually as we learn to contribute and the upcoming sessions of PSoC. Everyone must be wondering what are some examples of open source, right? That we come across.
Yeah. Okay, so when you see some of the popular open source softwares in this slide, you are sure to be astonished. As you can see from this slide, Brave browser, which you might be familiar with, BitTorrent, which I'm sure you would be familiar with, Firefox, the famous web browser, VLC Media Player, which is arguably one of the most famous media players in the whole world. Then many languages like Python and frameworks like React, which is a JavaScript library, and some other softwares like 7-Zip, VS Code, etc., are some of the most popular open source softwares. So also Android, the insanely well-known open source operating system of the mobile platform, which is based on Linux, which is also, well, you guessed it, it's also open source operating system. So, and the mind-boggling part is, when I say these are open source, you can go right now to web browsers and look at their source codes online. Just think about it. You can see, modify, contribute to the very source code and the communities that support them. So this is the beauty of open source, that lets anyone put a personal talent or a personal touch to it. This is the beauty of open source, and you can see, you can make the help contribute to these softwares to make them bug free, or you can suggest for some extra features to their softwares. So these are truly the softwares of the developers, by the developers, but for everyone.
The last line really took me, Piyush, really. The of the developers, by the developers, but for everyone. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Telling you more about open source and its endless stories, let me take you to Arctic and show you the greatest open source archive of the world. Arctic World Archive, or AWA, is the operation or the project to safeguard human culture in Svalbard, 300 meters down the ground in a vault. Beside manuscripts and artifacts, the archive now includes 21 TB of data of the source code of most important and big open source projects like Linux, Android, Bitcoin, Ruby, Next.js, Gatsby, and thousands of like that. Isn't that really fascinating to hear?
Yeah, I think we should have a look at it.
Yeah, sure.
Deep in the Arctic Circle, an archipelago covered in ice, Svalbard, home to the northernmost town in the world, to thousands of polar bears, And it is here you can find the global seed vault. Millions of seeds have been sent here from across the globe for secure long-term storage in cold and dry rock vaults. Just down the road is a decommissioned coal mine that has taken on new life. This is where we will protect open source software for future generations. Deep within the permafrost layer, which can stretch up to 400 meters thick, we will store the world's open source software on silver halide film. The data is encoded on frames with 8.8 million pixels each and designed to last over 1,000 years. In our initial deposit, we archive thousands of the world's most depended on open source projects. The work of hundreds of thousands of developers from around the world. We will return next spring, during the perpetual light of the midnight sun, to deposit every active public repository on GitHub for safekeeping in the GitHub Arctic Code Vault.
It is really awesome, right? It is.
Yeah, it's really awesome.
Yeah, I remember one of the very first repositories of the project and very important project, open source project, is Linux, and it really has a big community. And I think Pius is using Linux for a long time now, and he would be the great to tell you more about the community of Linux, I think.
Yeah, thanks, Saurabh. So Linux is a family of open source Unix-like operating systems that's based on the Linux kernel. So it's a free and open source operating system. And like Saurabh said, the source code can be modified and distributed to anyone. Initially, Linux was created for personal computers, but now you can find it in various systems like video game consoles, smartwatches, televisions, routers, etc. So the biggest success of Linux can be said that it's Android, the operating system of mobiles and tablets. By the way, did you know that both Apple and Microsoft famously tried to shut down the development of Linux? Microsoft tried to shut down the development of Linux in the early 1990s, and Apple's co-founder Steve Jobs tried to hire the inventor and the developer of Linux on the condition that he tried to stop working on Linux and stop its further development. But now Microsoft uses Linux in their server business, and even top companies like Google, Facebook, Samsung, Intel are among some of the top contributors to Linux development. But due to such frequent contributions, a new version of the Linux kernel is released every 66 days, and each has a unique code name. Some recent code names, as you can see, are Fearless Coyote, etc. So the operating systems that are based on Linux are known as Linux distributions or Linux distros. So, and you can get a Linux-based operating system by downloading any one of the Linux distributions. As you can see from this slide, some popular Linux distros are listed. Less Ubuntu, Debian, Manjaro, Linux Mint, Arch Linux, Fedora, etc. And keep in mind that these are only some of the 700 or 800 Linux distributions available to download. So as you can see from the next slide, where the screenshots are attached, so some cool and interesting Linux desktops. So aren't these really sick and cool? These are heavily customized. And in Linux, there are no limitations in customization. You can customize every nook and corner of your desktop. As you can see, these are some pretty popular Linux distributions. The bottom one is Linux Mint, upper one is the Fedora, I guess. And in the next slide, you can see that these are Ubuntu and the Debian Linux distributions, respectively. So these slides should give you a basic idea about open source and Linux in general. We'll discuss with you more on Linux and open source in depth in the future sessions. That's about it for now on Linux and open source. See you again soon.
So Thank you,
So
Piyush
now,
and Saurav. So due to network disruption, app dev team wasn't able to present completely. So let's again deep dive into the app dev world. Here is Kunal and Vaibhav.
Sorry for the technical glitches. So we were discussing about the types of mobile application development. So there are advantages and disadvantages to building an application no matter which approach you choose. By choosing an approach that matches your strategy, you can achieve the desired user experience, avail computing resources, and build native features for your application. So, why choose native app development? Firstly, applications that are made with one specific technology dedicated to a concrete platform, Android or iOS, are called native apps. Native apps are known for their robust functioning, fast performance, and user experience that is tailor made to their platform of choice. What's important? Using system resources provided by a chosen platform is much easier and works better when it comes to native mobile app development. Some popular examples of native mobile apps are Spotify, WhatsApp, Pokemon Go, Tesla, and SoundCloud. Next, why choose cross platform app development? The market is divided 50-50 between iOS and Android. Your potential customer could be on any of the platforms and sometimes on both. Building separate apps for both the platforms requires an adequate budget, and not all companies have that. Moreover, developing native apps can make it harder to offer the same amount of speed and functionality required by your app. So, choose cross platform development if you wish to align the user experience across all the platforms and you don't have the budget and time to build and maintain the different apps separately. Some popular examples of cross platform mobile apps are Evernote, Instagram, Uber, Gmail, and Twitter. Lastly, why should you choose progressive app development? Their main attribute is running in a web browser, even though it gives the user the native feeling. That means you can install the app on your device, you can use it offline, and it can send you push notifications. It can also use hardware features, but it is much easier on Android than on iOS. Their progression is based on the user experience that is optimized for each platform. Some popular examples of progressive web apps are Flipkart, Telegram, and Trivago.
So, after seeing all these numbers, graphs, and types of app and their development, you might be wondering how to begin and what PSoC has to offer in this field. Well, last year we had organized many exciting events in this field like the Flutter Code Along session, which was hosted by our seniors, Saksham Bhaiya and Priyanshu Bhaiya. And we plan to conduct such amazing sessions and workshops for you as well. We would also be organizing some fun events related to app development where all of us would learn and grow together. Also, there are many passionate app developers here working on different projects. So make sure to join the community, connect with them, and get all your doubts clear. That's it from our side. Now I would like Simran and Harshit to take over.
Thank you, Vaibhav and Kunal. And the list does not end here. We also like to get our hands dirty with bash programming, game development, library creation, quantum computing, physics simulations, kernel programming, and blockchain. And you people can still add on to it. So now people might be wondering, like, what's there for you in PSoC? Well, actually, a lot. From sessions to events, hackathons, workshops, career talks, and even gaming nights. Apart from that, you get in touch with some really cool seniors. To be honest, you're gonna spend more of your time with us than with your professors. So if you have any queries, you can put in the chat box and we'll be taking them in some time. Well, that was a sneak peek of PSoC, and we suggest you explore the community for yourself. You can do that by connecting with us on our social media handles. We insist you join a community and add to its awesomeness. You can join our PSoC. You can scan the people if you have any doubt. Then this is the QR which you can scan, and also the link. The link will be dropped in the chat section as well. Just a second.
I think we have I think we have one of the doubts.
I have a question from
audience.
Aman Kumar Gupta. Can you explain cross-platform again? So I guess Kunal could share more about cross-platform or by what?
Yeah, so basically cross-platform app development is basically about writing code for the app once and deploying the app on both the Android and iOS. So basically the code the frameworks which are commonly used are Flutter or React Native. So we write the code once and we can deploy the apps on Android and iOS simultaneously. So it saves time and sometimes the budget if it is in consideration.
Yeah, if you have any more queries, you can drop them in the chat box too, or you can ask them also.
Yes, you can unmute and go ahead.
So I guess there are no more questions from you guys.